I'm 21 years old, and for the past 6 months, I've been working at a small pizza shop in town. Most people think delivering pizzas is an easy job, but the truth is, sometimes it takes you to places you'd never dare to go otherwise. This is the story of one night that changed my life forever. It was a Friday evening. The air was cold, and after a long rain, the roads were slick with mud. The shop wasn't too busy, and I was secretly hoping I'd get to go home early. But then the phone rang. My boss picked it up, and I watched his expression change. He looked at me and said, "Daniel, there's an order. 4 large pizzas. The address is a little far, near the forest." I hesitated. "Sir, that's kind of risky at night." He shrugged. "Come on, man. The customer looks like a regular. We've had orders from that area before. Just drop it off and come right back." I didn't want to argue. I needed the job. So I packed the pizzas into the delivery bag, started my old car, and punched the address into the GPS. At first, the drive was fine, but after half an hour, the road narrowed and the surroundings grew darker. On either side of me were towering trees, their wet leaves glistening in the faint moonlight. Every time the wind blew, it sounded like whispers passing through the branches. My headlights cut through the blackness, but beyond that, there was nothing but endless shadows. Finally, the GPS said I had arrived. There it was, a house, old, decayed, covered in moss. The windows were cracked, the wooden walls damp and rotting. Above the front door hung a crooked lantern, its dim flame flickering like it was about to die. I whispered under my breath, "Who the hell even lives here?" I grabbed the pizzas and walked to the porch. My knuckles tapped against the door. For a few seconds, nothing. Then the curtain inside moved ever so slightly. I froze. Behind that curtain were eyes, wide, unblinking eyes staring right at me. The door never opened. Those eyes just kept watching. My throat went dry. I forced myself to say, "Hello? Pizza delivery." Silence. The pizzas felt heavier in my hands. I set them down on the porch and started stepping backward toward my car. My chest tightened. Something inside me screamed, "Don't stay here." I climbed into the car, shut the door, and jammed the key into the ignition. The engine roared, but when I pressed the gas, the car jerked violently and sputtered. I tried again. Nothing. Cursing under my breath, I jumped out to check the tires. The moment I bent down, my heart nearly stopped. All 4 tires had been slashed. Long, jagged cuts ran through the rubber as if carved deliberately. My hands shook. Someone had done this while I was at the door. And then, I heard it, a soft laugh, high-pitched, feminine, from the porch. My blood turned to ice. Slowly, I turned my head. The curtain moved again. And this time, it wasn't just eyes, it was a face. A woman's face. Pale, wrinkled, her lips curved into a smile that sent a chill straight through me. I stumbled back into the car, slammed the locks down, and pulled out my phone. My fingers barely worked as I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? The operator answered. I stammered. My car's stuck. Forest road near an old house. Someone slashed my tires. And someone's watching me from inside. Stay in your vehicle, the operator instructed. Lock the doors. We're sending a unit right now. I nodded frantically, even though she couldn't see me. I rolled the windows up and gripped the steering wheel, trying to steady my breathing. The darkness outside pressed closer, suffocating. And then, I saw something in the rearview mirror. My stomach dropped. In the back seat sat the woman. Her tangled hair fell across her face, but her wide eyes glistened in the dim light, and that same horrible smile stretched across her lips. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. My voice was gone. She leaned forward slowly, her icy breath brushing against my neck. That was it. Survival instinct took over. I flung the door open and bolted into the forest. Branches whipped against my face as I ran blindly between the trees. Behind me, the sound of laughter, her laughter, echoed through the woods. And worse, I heard footsteps, heavy, fast, closing in. I didn't dare look back. I just kept running until my foot caught on a root. I crashed hard to the ground, pain shooting through my leg. Dazed, I lifted my head and saw something right in front of me. A rotting wooden sign, covered in moss. I wiped it with trembling hands. The faded words appeared, "Stay out, do not enter." The sign was nailed beside a crooked little shack. I had no choice. I scrambled inside. The shack was empty, or at least it looked that way. But the stench hit me instantly. Rot, mold, and something else. Something like iron, blood. Symbols were scratched across the walls. Crude shapes smeared with dark stains. And then the door slammed shut behind me. I spun around expecting her face, but it wasn't her. It was something else. A tall, distorted shadow stood in the doorway. Its outline bent unnaturally, its head tilted too far to one side. It moved closer. I backed away, my hands searching for anything to defend myself. My foot hit a weak spot in the floor, and suddenly the boards gave way. I plummeted into darkness. The fall ended in a bone-jarring crash. I groaned and pushed myself up, then froze. The ground wasn't dirt. It was hard, crunchy. I reached down with shaking hands, bones, skulls, dozens of them. My breathing quickened. From the blackness around me came whispers, hundreds of voices murmuring at once. I couldn't make out words, just a chorus of despair, growing louder. Above me, her voice rang clear, that same woman. "Now you'll stay here, just like the rest of them." I screamed, pounding on the walls, but the whispers grew louder, circling me. Shapes moved in the dark. Eyes, glowing red, dozens of them, blinked open all around me. And then, silence. The world went black. The next morning, police found my car at the edge of the forest. Tires shredded, doors unlocked. Inside were 4 empty pizza boxes. But I was never found. People in town still whisper about that house. They say if you drive too close at night, you'll see her. A pale woman watching from the window, smiling. And if you're unlucky enough to stop, you'll never come back. When I was 16, I never thought a small part-time job would turn into the scariest memory of my life. Back then, it just felt like an ordinary thing, a way to make some pocket money after school. There was an old pizza shop on the main road of our town. Its neon sign often flickered half dead, buzzing faintly like it was breathing its last. That shop became my first workplace. At first, my job was simple: washing dishes with the cook, mopping the greasy floor, or packing pizza boxes for customers. But soon my boss, Carl, started telling me that whenever the main delivery boy was on leave, I'd be filling in for him. I agreed without hesitation. I thought of it as an opportunity. More money, more responsibility. Everything went fine. Until one night the actual delivery boy, Tom, suddenly quit. He came in late, spoke to Carl in the office, and when he walked out, I saw his eyes. I'll never forget the look in them. They were filled with a kind of fear I can't put into words. He looked at me, gave a small, bitter smile, and said only one sentence: "Good luck, kid." Then he left. He never came back. I couldn't understand what he was running from. But a few days later, when I got my first solo delivery to the rural outskirts, the truth began to unfold. It was a cold evening. The sun had just gone down, leaving behind a thin orange glow smeared across the horizon. Carl handed me a slip with the address scribbled on it. I switched on my GPS, placed the warm pizza box on the passenger seat of my beat-up car, and drove off. The farther I went, the lonelier the road became. The glow of the city faded behind me. On both sides of the road, only empty fields and wild bushes stretched out endlessly. Through my open window, I could hear the sharp hum of crickets. Once in a while, the distant bark of a dog echoed across the barren land. A strange unease pressed down on me, but I kept brushing it aside. It's just a delivery, I told myself, nothing more. Finally, the GPS directed me onto a dirt road. It felt endless, like a path leading nowhere. I drove for several minutes until a structure emerged in the distance. When it came into full view, my breath caught. It was a massive 2-story house, but broken down, decaying. The lawn was wild and choked with weeds. The trees looked dead, their black, twisted branches stretching like the claws of some skeletal monster. The porch stood silent, lifeless. Not a single light burned inside, not a single sign that anyone lived there. My heart pounded. Still, I forced myself to grab the pizza box and walk up the porch steps. I knocked on the door. For a moment, nothing. Then faintly I heard movement inside. A slow scrape of metal. A lock rattled. The door creaked open. Standing before me was an old woman. Her appearance froze me in place. Her hair was tangled, long, completely white. Deep wrinkles carved across her face like cracks in stone. Most of her teeth were missing, but the most terrifying part was her eyes. They weren't normal. They glimmered strangely, reflecting the dim light like the eyes of some nocturnal animal. I forced a nervous smile and said, "Pepperoni pizza, ma'am." She stared at me, silent. Seconds ticked by, and then she spoke in a heavy, gravelly voice. "Did you come here alone?" A chill ripped down my spine. My mouth felt dry. I stammered, "Yes, I came alone." She leaned closer, whispering almost to herself. "The last one who came here ran away." My knees locked. Sweat prickled down my back. She slowly reached into her purse as if to pull out money, but her hand lingered there. It didn't move. It felt as though she was gripping something else inside. My brain screamed alarms. Then I noticed it. Behind her, in the darkness of the hallway, a shadow shifted. A faint silhouette of a man was slowly approaching the doorway. At the same time, I heard crunching footsteps on the dry leaves outside. Turning my head, I saw another man emerging from behind the trees, stepping onto the porch. His face was hard, his eyes sharp, hostile. My stomach dropped. I had only one option left. Instead of handing the pizza to the old woman, I threw it back into my car, yanked the door shut, and slammed the engine to life. My hands shook. My heart pounded so violently I thought it would burst. With every ounce of strength, I floored the gas pedal and tore away from that house. When I returned to the pizza shop, I was drenched in sweat, breathless, barely able to speak. Carl listened silently as I spilled out everything I had seen. His face hardened. He grabbed the phone and called the police immediately. Hours later, the police raided that house. What they found made my blood freeze all over again. The place had technically been abandoned for years, but 3 people had been living there. The old woman and 2 men. All of them were arrested. The police revealed that they had been targeting delivery boys and lone visitors. Inside the kitchen, they found piles of empty boxes, blood-stained clothes, and rusted knives. That night, I realized just how close I had come. If I had stayed even 1 minute longer, I might not be telling this story at all. Even now, years later, when I drive alone at night and see a shadow flicker across an old window, my heartbeat stutters. I keep hearing her voice. "Did you come here alone?" And I keep seeing those eyes, those unnatural glowing eyes staring through me. I quit that job soon afterward. The money didn't matter anymore. My life did. And I learned a lesson that will stay with me forever. Never deliver to a house that looks abandoned, because sometimes it isn't empty at all. It was winter, the kind of winter night that weighs on your chest, when the cold air feels heavier than usual. The clock on the shop wall read 11:30 p.m. I was just about ready to call it a night when my manager, sitting behind the counter, called out to me, "David, one last order. You'll have to take it." I frowned. "Sir, it's closing time." He shrugged. "Yeah, but this customer offered extra pay. The address is a little far, though, about 5 miles outside town." I narrowed my eyes. "Outside the city? At this hour?" He leaned back, indifferent. "That's the address. If you don't want to take it, I'll send someone else." But everyone else had already gone home, and if I refused, I knew my weekly pay would take a hit. With a heavy sigh, I nodded. "All right, give it here." I picked up the warm pizza box, strapped it onto my bike, turned on the GPS, and set off. The destination, a small old house standing on a dirt road outside the city. As I left the city behind, the lights began to vanish. First, the storefronts disappeared, then the neighborhoods, and finally the streetlights gave way to nothing but darkness. My bike's headlight was the only thing cutting through the black void. The wind pushed against me like icy fingers. The trees along the road swayed, their branches whispering against each other, as if they were speaking in some secret tongue. At one point, I felt something strange, the sensation that someone was following me. My instincts prickled. I glanced at the rearview mirror. Nothing. Just the endless, empty road. Maybe it was just my imagination, but the 5 miles stretched like 5 hours. Eventually, I saw it. A small house emerged from the darkness. Old, dilapidated. The roof sagged like a tired old man. The window panes were cracked and broken. The wooden front door looked rotten, as if it hadn't been replaced in decades. But the address on my GPS matched. I parked my bike, picked up the pizza, and walked to the door. I pressed the doorbell. The door opens. Immediately, the door opened. A man stood there. He looked to be in his 50s, maybe older. Thin frame, pale skin, with a faint mustache that did little to soften his unsettling appearance. His eyes had a strange look in them. Not a smile, not anger, but something in between. He spoke in a calm, oddly rehearsed tone. "Wait here, son. I'll be right back. Come in. It's cold outside." I shook my head quickly. "No thanks. Just pay me here." But he gestured insistently. "Come on, come in. It's freezing. Sit down." The truth was, it was cold. Bitterly cold. Against my better judgment, I hesitated. And then, stupidly, I stepped inside. The moment I did, I noticed something unsettling. The air inside wasn't warm at all. It wasn't even close. Instead, the silence itself pressed against me. It was so thick, it felt like the walls were breathing. The man disappeared into another room for a moment. When he returned, he walked straight to a door on the side wall and opened it. A basement door. He turned to me and said flatly, "I always keep the money downstairs. Come with me." I looked at the staircase. It descended into pure darkness. Not the kind of darkness where your eyes need time to adjust. No, this was complete, suffocating blackness, like light itself had been swallowed whole. I shook my head firmly. "Just bring it up." "I can't go down there." But he insisted. "It won't take long. Come." The sound of footsteps. And then I heard it. From deep below the stairs came a sound. Creak, creak. The unmistakable groan of wooden steps being pressed by something heavy. Someone was climbing up, slowly, each step heavier than the last. But I couldn't see a thing. The darkness hid it completely. My entire body went cold. I whispered, my voice trembling, "I'll wait here." "That's fine." The man moved suddenly, stepping into my path as though to block me. His eyes weren't neutral anymore. They were wild, desperate. I panicked. Instinct took over. I swung my fist, connecting squarely with his face. He stumbled back, crashing against the wall. Meanwhile, the sound from the basement grew louder, heavier, faster. Whoever, whatever, was down there was now rushing up the stairs. My mind went blank with fear. I grabbed the door, shoved it open, and bolted outside. My feet barely touched the ground as I sprinted to my bike. I jammed the keys into the ignition, the engine roaring to life. The headlight blazed, slicing the night apart. I looked back just once. The front door of the house stood wide open. The man I had hit was standing there, his face smeared with blood. But he wasn't alone anymore. Behind him, towering in the doorway, was a figure. Tall, unnaturally tall. Its shadow stretched across the porch, long and distorted. I didn't wait to see more. I gunned the throttle and sped into the night, my heart hammering against my ribs like it wanted to break free. Aftermath. When I reached the restaurant, I told the manager everything. His expression shifted from irritation to worry, and he called the police immediately. Hours later, they went to check the house. But when they returned, their report chilled me more than anything else that night. The house was empty, completely empty. No man, no furniture, no basement, just an abandoned shell. It was as if nothing had ever been there. The lesson. Even now I ask myself, who was that man? And what was waiting for me in the basement? The sound of those footsteps still echoes in my memory, growing louder every time I think about it. One thing is certain, after that night, I never stepped into a stranger's house again. If you ever work as a delivery boy and someone invites you inside a broken-down house in the middle of the night, remember this. Never go in, because you don't know if it's a man waiting for you or something else. Something that hides in the dark. The end.